Okay, today we're going to be looking at section 1.6, which is basic constructions. Before we get into constructions, we need to define a few terms. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at 1.6, which is on basic constructions. For this section, you will need two things. You will need a compass. Okay, mine probably looks pretty different than yours does. As long as it opens and closes, it's fine. And then you can also are going to need a ruler or a straight edge of some kind. All right, so before we start on this, let's just define a few terms. First of all, a straight edge. A straight edge is just a ruler with no markings. Okay? So it's okay to use a ruler on this. It's really all right. Just don't use the numbers. Okay? And then you're also, like I said, going to need a compass. A compass is just a geometric tool used to draw circles and arcs. Arcs are just parts of a circle, okay, like that. That would be an arc. All right, so the first construction we're going to start with today is constructing a congruent segment. Okay, so we have this segment AB here, and I want to create a segment that is congruent to AB. So the first step in doing this, use your straight edge to just draw a long segment, okay? I'm just going to draw a segment that I know is definitely bigger than AB and label the endpoint C. Okay? Don't cheat and use the numbers on the ruler. It ruins all the fun. Next thing you're going to do is take your compass. You're going to put one point, the pointy end at A, and then open it up all the way to B. Okay, so you want to open up until you get to B, like that. Once you do that, put the point in at C, and then you're just going to make a mark like that that goes through the segment. Label that point D, and then now we have congruent segments. So we know that segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Okay, that's how we can make congruent segments. Once you get that, you can erase that end if you'd like, so that you only have segment CD left. I want to show you something else too real quick. We can also create multiples of segments. So if I were to take my compass at the same setting, that's very important that you don't move it at all, and make another mark here and label that point E. Well, point E would be 2 times AB. So CE, that segment, would be 2 times the size of AB. Okay, so we can also do multiples of segments. And then I can erase the end there if I want. All right, so that segment would be twice AB. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is constructing congruent angles. All right, I want to get 2 angles that have the same measure here. All right, so in order to do that, the first step is the same as constructing a segment. Draw a straight line. Okay, straight line segment, label the end C or some other letter, it really doesn't matter. Okay, once you have done that, you are going to, with your compass, make a mark that goes through both sides of angle A, just like that. It doesn't matter how big it is or how little it is, but make the mark and then make sure you don't move the setting on your compass. So we're going to label the points where it intersects the angle, B and C. Okay, so the next thing is, with your compass at the same setting, make an arc that goes through C, and you're going to want to make it kind of large so that you have room. Okay, so once you've done that, we can label one side of it D. We haven't used that yet. So now what we need to do is create the other side of our angle C to have our congruent segments. So to do that, take your compass and open it up to the width of CB. So I'm just squeezing it in until it's the same length of CB, like that. Okay, so now you can move down, not moving the marking at all, to point D and make an arc. Just like that. So now that point where that arc intersects the other one, that is the other point on your angle. We'll call this point E, and then I can use my straight edge to connect C with E. And when I do that, I've created two congruent angles. If I were to get a protractor and measure these, they would be the same degree. So now I know that angle A is congruent to angle C. Okay? All right, moving on. So next, let's define a few more words here. We need to define perpendicular lines. I'm sure that you've seen this before. Perpendicular lines are just two lines that intersect to form a right angle. Okay, any two lines that intersect to form a right angle are perpendicular. We have a symbol for perpendicular. It looks like an upside down T, just like that. And it reads, is perpendicular to. Okay, that's what that symbol means. So for instance, if I were to draw two lines here, we'll call that line L, call this one line M. If they intersect at a right angle, they are perpendicular to one another. So I would say that M is perpendicular to L, just like that. Okay, so let's define now a perpendicular bisector. A perpendicular bisector is simply a line, segment, or array that is perpendicular to a segment at its midpoint. Okay, so if we labeled this point A, and then we call this one B, this one C. If A is a midpoint, then M is a perpendicular bisector. It is perpendicular to line L, and it bisects line L. Okay, so now let's look at constructing a perpendicular bisector. In order to do this, there's really not that many steps. The first step is open up your compass to where the setting is bigger than half of AB, but not bigger than AB. Okay, we want it to go past halfway, but not be any bigger than. Once you do that, we're going to create a pretty large arc that goes like that. And you can see mine cut into my words a little bit, but that's okay. And then we're going to do the same thing at B. Keep your setting on your compass exactly the same. It's very important that you don't move that, and create another arc. Okay, you see how those two arcs intersect at these 2 points? We'll label those point C and point D. Those 2 points are on the perpendicular bisector of segment AB. So if we connect those 2 points, then we have the perpendicular bisector of AB. So this line is both perpendicular to and bisects AB. Okay. All right, last one we're going to look at, and we will be done for today, is constructing an angle bisector. All right, so we're going to construct an angle bisector, and we will be done. Okay, so an angle bisector, we've talked about this before. It simply splits an angle into two congruent smaller angles. So the first step on this is using our compass. We're going to just make an arc that goes through both sides of that angle. Okay, We can label this where it intersects, point B and point D. RC, could be C there as well. Once you do that, you're going to put the pointy end at B, make another little arc out here, then put your end at D and make another arc. Where those arcs intersect is a point on your angle bisector. We can call that C. And then if we connect A with C, we'll have our angle bisector. You can see I'm not using the number markers at all on this ruler. I am just constructing things. So there, now we have that AC is an angle bisector. And also that angle BAC is congruent to the other smaller angle CAD. Alright, so that is it for constructing. Come in tomorrow and we will be doing this all class. It's going to be great. I will see you then.